Welcome back to the show now. While our folklore Shane Lahan normally deals with more ancient beliefs and customs, this week he's gone rogue on us. Shane, how are you? Conastanto?
On the Fad.
On the Fad.
Well, I was. There's a load of things. We say that the past, is way past. But I think actually the 1970s, 1960s, there was such a huge cultural change in Ireland that we have to think about what happened. People went from no electricity essentially. They got the electricity in, and all of a sudden they went from the range and the old pots and the iron and so on into a new modern age, full of technology and
gadgets,
if you like.
Yeah.
And it came to my mind because look, you see this one here. This is an old Kenwood chef, okay? And I inherited this from Kay Sheehan, the wonderful Kay Sheehan. This is my partner, Maura.
There she is.
There she is, out in full glory in the sunshine. Passed away now, Kay has gone. But we've inherited this. This was made by Ken Wood, an inventor, okay? 1948 he started. This one, which was the Mark II, if you like, in 1962. This is 62 years old. Look, watch. It's still running.
It's still working.
Still running.
After all these years.
This did some work making flans and sponges that you saw today, all of that sort of
down through the years. Now, Ken Wood.
Yeah.
We saw a picture of Kenneth Wood there, so that's where the name comes from.
That's right. That's it. And a man called Ken Grange, two Kens, if you like. And they incorporated the K beater. So they had the beater on the machine. They had the letter K there to immortalize it. So product design, the whole thing. And this did mincing, it did liquidizing, it did everything and anything you could imagine. And I was thinking, Dahi, right? Before that, it was all manual, before the electricity came in. And this was the old mincer long go. And we go to the butcher now, we get our mince, right?
Yeah.
People long go got their meat and they were grinding away.
You'd have to hold it down.
Hold it down, push it in here. Out would come the mince, Long ago, my mother used to make things called rissoles. Rissoles
What is it? Rissoles?
Rissoles, in fact, they were really kind of burgers that she stretched. She put a bit of put a bread into them, onions, salt and pepper, some thyme and so on, and she rolled them in flour and she fried them on the pan. And it got me thinking as well, something that a lot of people remember. Long ago, there was no olive oil. We had fat and we had dripping. All the fat would be poured back in off the pan with all the flavourings and everything into it. And this was the old dripping jar, if you like. And
was that a marmalade jar?
That was a marmalade jar. That was exactly what we had at home. And I had this one and I brought it in to show you.
So all the drippings would go in there.
Absolutely.
It would solidify and you'd use it then as you needed it.
Absolutely, that was it. But the technology was great. I brought this one in. Look at it. This is the old can opener.
We have one of them at home as well.
Believe it or not, I bought this fresh just the other day. And when I looked at the name of it, this is called a stab can opener.
A stab,
Because you literally had to stab into the...
And you go all the way around.
Well, you didn't go all the way around. Some fellas did. They went halfway around and they were pulling it out.
And pull back their lip.
And the rotary one came in, that was equally no good. Later on then the electric ones came in as well. But
what about, have you a beater over there as well?
Yeah, to see what happened is, before the mixer came in as well, you had these. Do you remember these? These had a mind of their own, right? You'd put them in there, or you'd be working it away. Things would be splattering all over yourself and the kitchen and everyone else, and it kind of would go all over the place. When I think about it, they were desperate. So Ken Wood certainly took over from that, But there were other items in the kitchen that I really love. This was the electric knife.
Notions.
Okay? Notions.
Pure notions now.
This was designed. You think most things were designed for women. This was designed for men. It was marketed towards men. In America, they said you will make your man a Michelangelo of the kitchen when he's carving the roast. Because this was, give it a go here for me, because we plugged it in.
It's still going.
It's still going strong. When I put out the word to all my friends and all my family, and I should mention now, Concepta and Joe Arkins out in Rowan in County Clare, I nearly cleared out their whole kitchen, They're fantastic because they gave me all these devices.
Yeah.
But they were as loud as a lawnmower, the original ones that came in.
I can't hear you. But this is a full belt, right?
Yeah, and all it did, Dahi, was shred the meat. Like, to be honest, the reason they were all still in the boxes because they really didn't do a great job altogether, They made it into kind of sawdust, if you like. And but there was danger everywhere, And I suppose the most dangerous object, and this is the one I found, it was easy to find the carving knives. To find a pressure cooker, Dahi, was almost impossible.
Yeah.
These were incredible. Right throughout the 70s and 80s, I remember this, the bacon and cabbage.
They'd whistle all day long.
Oh, yeah. So it would be put, what is it? And it was like, it was like an old geyser, or it was like a volcano of steam coming out the top, and we'd be watching it going with the whistle. And next thing you do is you put the weight up on top of it.
So that's weight. That's actually very heavy, Shane.
That's
isn't
the
it?
weight,
Well, it's heavy.
And then, of course, it got steaming mad. But it cut the cooking time down from 2 times to 10 times, depending on what you were cooking, right? So what happened then, of course, was the best part was that everyone was anxious for the dinner. You had to take it over like you were disarming something in under the tap, and my goodness, the whole thing was there. And if you were too anxious, you opened it up. Sure, the whole thing would go in there, you know. And people were. The reason they're not so popular is because they were dangerous.
They were dangerous.
So,
I remember a neighbour of ours had one of them at home as well. But when you think about electricity coming into houses that time, Shane, like it really transformed everything.
It transformed absolutely everything, and you know the amount of work they had to do, and I suppose people got a bit heavier as well because I remember my father. He put the phone my mother. Would you make a sponge tonight, Eleanor? Would you make a flan tonight, right? And everything like that. And the facility was there. It was much better, and you had, of course, the electric cooker was there. This was a huge, massive change. One of the things that promoted it was a thing called the Green Shield stamps. And not everyone I spoke to now remembers this. I kind of break people into before Green Shield stamps and after Green Shield stamps.
By God Almighty. What were they exactly?
So what happens is you went to the shop, okay, you bought your petrol, or for every shilling you got 1 stamp. Each book contained 1,280 stamps, right? We used to be licking those all night long, putting them in. We were delighted. There was a catalogue. And if you wanted something like an electric carving knife, you probably had to get 6 or 7 books. So by the time you had spent all that money, you should have bought it outright, you know? So it was those electricity objects based on electricity, they came in really with the ESB.
Were they a government scheme or something?
No, it was more like an incentive scheme that various shops and various petrol stations and so on took on it over time, you know. So I really think it was a change. We grew up during that era. Refrigeration came in, electric devices came in. These were wedding presents as well. People brought them into their houses.
I remember years ago somebody told me a story as well about a woman. I might have been in West Kerry, right, when the light came first, that they should turn off the light because they could see all the dirt.
That was it. And it was a big bulb that time. And spiders, and you can imagine from all the turf and all the paraphernalia, the place was as yellow as you can imagine. Look, this is another one that you remember, Dottie. Okay? And it's still a popular one, okay? This was nominally an ice cream scoop, but in Ireland it's for potatoes.
For mash.
For the mash. So you had mashed potatoes, the scoop went in, and you know, that's still used in many houses today.
And if you get a carvery anywhere in Ireland, Shane, you're going to see one of them.
I think it's fantastic, and you know, a drop of gravy on top of that, Dahi.
To be all right as well. I remember we actually had one of these at home as well.
Yeah, so they were new as well, and this was the era of plastic, if you like, the salad.
The Tupperware.
The Tupperware went in. There was another invention that was there, bringing the plastic. But you know what I like as well, Dahi, for the salad. I'll let you do the honours here.
No, you're okay. You're fine. That's been out for a while.
This was great for slicing the egg. So look, nice like there you go, and put it on then in amongst all of the lettuce that you had beautifully dried
and all the ham and the beef and everything inside there as well.
The roll of ham.
Now we have tea here, Mark. Tell us that, listen, we always had one of these at home. Did you have one of these at home, Maura?
I had a caddy because you know what, we really didn't have tea bags until later. I mean, back in the 70s, people didn't have it. It was one of those, and you have to
never drink tea with tea bags.
But you know what?
Never. Always with tea leaves.
If you start drinking those again, you really notice the difference. They're so much better.
But they used to say it was only dust, you know, dust that was coming in. But look, some people had this little device as well, which I thought was interesting. This was for just if you wanted tea in the cup.
I have those. I have one of those.
You put in, and you put your infusion in with that.
over there, lads, because I'll tell you, I won't like you.
Do you know you can buy those now of like Chinese sites these days and every other site? You don't like that? See, I don't mind the smell of eggs. Shane, I have to say it's really interesting because so many of our viewers have been getting in touch. Helena from Kilkenny got in touch with us. You were talking about the Kenwood, which I didn't know was a real person. But this is a Krups one you talked about. But Helena, this is a Kenwood. Helena said she sent in a pic of the Krups. Look at this one. She still has it. She says that mixer, she's 47 and the mixer came out in 1959 and she still uses it.
Still going.
Fantastic.
Isn't that right?
Is that the one with the 2 little things you pull in and out?
Yeah.
We have one of those as well, older than she is. We also have a pic here from Mary from County Offaly. This is an old electric carving knife. I know you had yours here. She's still using that. This is still in use 50 years later. Now, she doesn't think it shreds, obviously, Shane, because she's still using it. She also sent in a photo of an electric kettle. That's like the one you had, though. Look at that.
Yeah.
But there was a great story I have about this. So when we moved away from the range, of course, okay, what happened is people didn't know how this was going to work at all. So there was one woman, she went in and she saw this fella, said this other woman, boiling the kettle. And she went back to the husband. She said, God, this electricity is great. She said, all you have to do is tie the kettle to the wall, she said, and it'll boil away in that. So when she saw the thing being put in. So
I need to snoop at this thing here. This the one you said was, is this the pressure cooker?
The pressure cooker. Remember them, or did you have one at
Yes,
home?
I think we did, and this used to come off sometimes, I
Yeah, you
think.
could put that in, and that would be good.
I never had these things though.
Yeah, and this.
Oh, I broke one of those lately.
Did you?
Don't
they're
tell the
still
family.
great, you
Don't
know.
tell the family.
but you know, when
I
you
love
think about
those.
it,
They're much better than the plastic ones.
are the electric ones. You don't. You can just turn the lemon or the orange. You know.
It's brilliant.
But look over here for me, just at the this.
What's
This
that
reminds
thing?
me of Mrs. Doyle. Okay, so this came again from Concepta all the way from County Clare. Okay, it's a fantastic. This is an automatic tea maker. A tea maker.
From
So-
what year?
So this would be 1970s, a lot of 1970s, and I love it because what happened was you've got the analog phase. Can you see that? Just an
Yes.
ordinary clock
Yeah.
phase. You set what time you were going to get up. It would boil the water for you.
In this
and
little
make,
pot?
Yeah, and make the out of it come, and it would make
Come
a
out
cup
of
of
the
tea.
spout.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
it.
So it's a part of our kind of culture when we
It
think
is.
that we want to wake up with a cup of tea, you know.
Yeah.
Oh.
But listen, I have
Shane,
one.
thank you
I,
so much.
I have one great gadget. Can I
Alright.
show you this one? Because
Oh,
this is one.
We
I-
definitely had one of these,
I-
an apple
yeah.
core.
This is an apple corer and peeler. I bought this in America
Yeah.
in an Amish shop. Watch how it
They
works.
have
Okay,
those there,
it's
yeah.
absolutely
Look at this
fantastic.
I really liked it.
Hold on now, we'll push it on
Yeah,
this
it's
way.
gone off the rails.
Yeah, it's gone off the rails
Look at
there.
that.
All right.
And you collect all the, look at it, it's like spaghetti,
as
apple
it goes
spaghetti.
around, okay. Brendan was doing that there earlier on.
blame
But look,
Brendan
we get
for
it.
all
We
this.
get it. We get all the
But
lovely
I'm a
bits
bit-
and pieces
oh,
and
amazing.
so on.
Look at
So,
that.
yeah, so it's fantastic.
They'd
device,
love
you know.
that in America because they make
Yeah.
all those apple cakes
No.
and
If you're
everything.
making anything like that,
Amazing.
it's terrific.
Shane,
Shane
you're wrong,
Greenbad,
that's
thank you
great.
for bringing us
Absolutely
down
fantastic.
the road of our
Yeah.
childhood. It's fabulous.
No, we have great news, Mara.
We have great news. That's
Great
nearly
news.
it, but we have great news because, of course, we are giving